Well, what's going on, YouTube? We're gonna talk about The Flash. Let's do this. Have you guys seen The Flash? Let me know if you have or not. We're gonna go into spoiler details, guys. Spoilers. We're doing this. Just trying to see if my stream's up. Yes, we are live. We are live. Okay. So, what did you think of The Flash? I really enjoyed the Flash movie. I can't avoid the hate that it's getting on the internet. If you go to Twitter, they're just roasting it. Whether it's about the CGI or whether it's about Ezra, whether there's a numerous amount of factors that go into why the Flash is underperforming at the box office. I would say. Uh, it's made, what did it make, 60 million this weekend. Everybody's flagging it to be a bomb. And it's like, dude, what do you expect? James Gunn announced his reboot a few months ago. And then we still got Blue Beetle, and we still got Aquaman 2 coming out. So how do you think those movies are going to do? This Flash movie had Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. You know, it doesn't get better than that. That's peak Justice League. That's peak Batman. That's peak Flash. That's peak DC. This is peak DC, and you're only bringing in 60 million opening weekend domestic. I don't know if that's just a product of the era we're in, if because all these movies came out in the summertime or what. But yeah, it's not looking good for the Flash, unfortunately. Andy Muschietti, the director, was announced he is coming back to do Batman the Brave and the Bold, which is the Batman set in the DC universe in James Gunn's timeline era kind of thing. But yeah, spoiler discussion. George Clooney made his triumphant return. The man himself, George. He shows up at the end of the Flash movie. That alone is worth the price of admission. I was raised on George Clooney's Batman and Robin. So seeing Clooney pop up was just a great little homage, as well as Nicolas Cage as Superman from The Death of Superman Lives What Happened. John Schnepp. Shout out to John Schnepp. Rest in peace to the homie. He made that documentary, and without that documentary, I really doubt this Nicolas Cage cameo would have even happened in the Flash movie. So yeah. As far as like the CGI and stuff, the director has said it's intentional. All the CGI that looks kind of like claymation, all that was intentional because it's the Speed Force and how Barry sees things while he's running in the Speed Force, because he is running really fast. So, and then people called him out on that, like, that's bullshit. He's just trying to cover his ass for terrible CGI. And, you know, you have the right to think whatever you want to think. But when the director says something, that's what it is. So, you can take it for what it is, or you can have your own conspiracy about it. I'm choosing to believe the director because the CGI in this movie was really flawless at certain parts. Like, most of the movie was flawless. So, when those Speed Force scenes do happen and it doesn't look like real, it is a stylistic choice. So, we have a couple people in the chat. Make sure you guys throw some comments in there. Ask me some questions about the movie, and we'll get this thing rolling. Okay, so one of the things that was flawless to me was Ezra's portrayal as Barry Allen. Two different versions, one where he's 18 and another one where he's 28. And you can see the character progression as a 28-year-old Barry who lost his mom versus an 18-year-old Barry who has his mom, has both his parents. Two very completely different people. Yet Ezra plays those characters down to a T seamlessly. There was a couple moments where the deepfake was obvious, but it was mere seconds, and then the movie continued to go and progress the way it progressed. So, yeah, man, I was very enthusiastic about this thing. I could have easily had another 30 minutes on this attached to this movie. The That's just me. I'm a sucker for comic book movies. Zack Snyder's Justice League was 3 hours. Watchmen was over 3 hours. So the more, the better. Give me a Justice League HBO, well not HBO Max. Yeah, give me an HBO series with the Justice League where it's 12 episodes like The Boys or something. That would be so sick. I've been saying that for a while. That gives the opportunity for these characters to breathe and to grow naturally. You're not trying to rush everything into a 2.5 hour movie. A lot of people are upset about this movie because Reverse Flash wasn't involved and the Rogues Gallery wasn't involved. Captain Cold wasn't in there. It's like we got all that stuff in the Flash TV series, and they wanted to give us a different type of Flashpoint movie, not just give us a copy and paste of the comic book or the animated movie that came out. And I understand why you would want a live action version of that story, like comic book, like frame per frame. I can understand why you would want that, but it's not. That's not challenging for a director. He wants to bring his own spin. He wants to bring his own take. And how many different scripts did this movie go through? It was greenlit way back in 2014. 3 to 4 different directors. We finally got Andy Muschietti on board to shoot this movie, and it's finally here. So, yeah, it's been about 9 years in the making. As far as Michael Keaton, dude, all the little homages to the Tim Burton movies. I'm not going to say it carried the movie because he didn't show up until a little over halfway through the movie, which was really surprising. When he was on screen, he really got his time to shine. And he was struggling as being retired, basically, because Gotham is the safest city in the world, according to Batman, which he doesn't need a Batman anymore. And when you go your whole life being a vigilante, taking care of your city, and all of a sudden it's the safest city in the world, how else are you supposed to live your life? So he's chilling. He's being a recluse. He's listening to his records. He's making spaghetti. He's living his life, right? And people are debating whether this was the actual Michael Keaton Batman from those Tim Burton movies. But this movie clearly establishes there's multiple versions of that character over and over again. It's the multiverse. So there's an unlimited amount of Michael Keaton Batmans. It's just depending on which situations happen. Obviously, this version was a version where Barry creates this world because he does want to change the past. And I wouldn't say that he's responsible for creating Michael Keaton's Batman in the slightest. But that him going back in time does merge some Earths together, it seems like. The guy making the sandwich, Stimmy Tack says, the guy making the sandwich, relatable. Yeah, the guy in the beginning of the movie making Barry's sandwich, and he just wants to get his food. He's late to work. Barry's always late, even though he's the fastest man alive, which is relatable. Yeah. And then Iris West, people were like, oh, well, she didn't get as much time in the movie. And while I agree she didn't get as much screen time as I thought she would, I didn't really mind that, considering we've got Iris West for 9 seasons on the TV series. And to be honest, it kind of just pulls down the story when you are dealing with things like the multiverse and multiple Batman and all these high concepts. Having Iris being the love interest and him dealing with this mundane kind of storyline, that's not very interesting as far as the Flashpoint story goes. So yeah, I didn't mind Iris not being involved as much. This was supposed to be the introduction, the first Flash movie of a trilogy, but now that James Gunn is coming in, we don't know if that's going to still happen. And now that we know this movie is underperforming, it's just really unfortunate. So I'm trying to figure out if I can find some box office numbers, and we can talk about some of the box office numbers. Let's see if I can bring this up. So let's go to Box Office Mojo. Okay, so The Flash Yeah, I made 64 mil domestic, it's better than 50 million, which is what they were saying, but it's under the 70 million that they expected. When I say they, I meant the people that run the box office numbers. Worldwide, 139 million worldwide. That's not that great, guys. The budget was $220 million, so they really need to have repeat viewings in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what's coming out this weekend, or if there's any other bigger movies coming out. I do know this number, this 139, is unacceptable because you drop that much money into the movie. Yeah, it needs at least like 600 million to break even on this thing, considering marketing. Fuck, dude, that just sucks. It sucks. Everybody's hating on this thing. Everybody's hating on it. Yeah, we gotta talk about Ben Affleck, dude. Ben Affleck's Batman, he killed it. He killed it. He was doing his thing. And then Ben Affleck was saying, like, this is my favorite version of Batman. I finally got this character down, which is noticeable. He was having a real good time with it. He said it was too short. You know, it ended too soon, his run as the Batman, which is unfortunate. But listen, dude, like, he chose to step down when he stepped down, and we're 10 years into this DC universe, so there's not really much to show for it, considering all things that had happened with Zack Snyder and his version of the movie, and the Suicide Squad, and what happened with that version of the movie. There's a lot of turmoil went on with this version of DC, and it doesn't surprise me why this movie underperformed at the box office. Now, people are trying to say, Blue Beetle's going to make so much money. I don't see Blue Beetle making much money. If you can't even get people to go see this Michael Keaton Batman, Ben Affleck Batman, all these people that are in this movie, it's not looking good for Blue Beetle either. And I know James Gunn said that, Blue Beetle's going to be the first character in the DC universe. He will take that actor and use him as Blue Beetle, but don't expect that movie to be canon to his universe, because he stated that Superman Legacy will be the first movie in the DC universe. He said that on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, and he also said that Peacemaker is coming right after Superman Legacy, so he's obviously going to take actors he still likes, and he's going to salvage actors from this old DC universe and just make them variants. So we are going to get variant versions of these characters. It's not going to be a full-blown reboot, and a lot of people are mad about it. Some people are okay with it. I think it's a little sloppy. If you do want to distance yourself from this thing, recast everybody. I've been saying that from the start. If you have a flop, recast it. Don't take what you like and just continue on. But that's what James Gunn wants to do. He killed it with his version of Guardians of the Galaxy. His Suicide Squad movie didn't even make a lot of money. James Gunn's version of the Suicide Squad, it underperformed. Granted, it went directly to Suicide Squad. His version of the Suicide Squad, it went directly to HBO Max at the same time, and it was during COVID. So you can't really gauge how successful that movie really was. But look, it also made $55 million opening domestic, the same as The Flash. So, but this is worldwide total. The Flash made 130 worldwide in its first weekend. The Suicide Squad made 168 million worldwide in its entire box office run. That's bad. That is bad. Look at the budget. Look at that budget of $185 million, and your total is 168. That is an actual flop. And James Gunn is now running the DC universe. So compare that to The Flash, dude. Compare this to The Flash. This first weekend. Look at that. 64. Oh, I was wrong. It wasn't 55. Oh, opening, yeah, it did make 55. Worldwide, though. So it's looking good. You know what I'm saying, dude? If we can get repeat viewings of this Flash movie, it might turn a profit. It might. Let's go into this Supergirl discussion. Sasha Calle, dude. she was a standout for this movie, even though she got very little screen time. She got more screen time than Iris West, less time than Michael Keaton, and I'd say she got more time than Ben Affleck's Batman. I was surprised, man, how much I enjoyed her version of Supergirl, considering she's not the average type of Supergirl you would normally see. She doesn't have blonde hair, she doesn't have blue eyes, blah, 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 blah. She does not have the comic book version. She seems like she could be Henry Cavill's cousin in that universe. I never considered the hair color a definitive thing for a Supergirl, even though many people do. That's like a requirement for them. Like, oh, what about the Supergirl TV series? Melissa Benoist did a great job as that version of Supergirl. It was a very different version of Supergirl. This version, you can just see her in her eyes. She's been through some shit, and she's just trying to protect her cousin. And when she finds out that Zod kills baby Clark, dude, she goes off, bro. And she was just on record saying how she wants to play Supergirl again. She was saying, well, see if I can pull up the quote. I love having this open now. Yeah, she was saying that it was a runway for a bigger future. Hide articles. Let's see. I just want to dive deeper into Kara and her feelings into her day to day. So yeah, I would just love to see her in regular clothes. So what she wants to dive deeper into this character, but in which way will? She's the cousin. Yeah, she is the cousin, bro. She wants that more mundane story, like give her an HBO Max series or something. Like, we already had the Supergirl show, and I don't know if James Gunn is going to use her for the Supergirl movie they have planned, because I don't know if that's what James Gunn wants to do, but she can obviously play another variant. And Henry Cavill obviously supports this version. He co-signed this version of Supergirl. He approved. So that's all you can really ask for, man. She did a great job. It was just on record. Yeah, she met with Peter Safran, the other half of DC Studios. I hope to continue playing Supergirl. I love her so deeply, and I feel so connected to her. So all you can do is hope, man. Like, all fans really want is some sort of continuity. And this Flash movie didn't really reboot anything. It just separated the timelines, and anything could be possible now because we know those things are out there. Yeah, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I don't know if she's going to play that version, especially after this box office, dude. I don't know what's going to happen. It's really unfortunate because she did a really good job. I hope to continue playing Supergirl. It just goes on to say that she was excited to meet Henry Cavill. And that's like the whole thing, because she's the cousin to Henry Cavill's Superman. So whatever new Superman James Gunn is going to cast, I don't think he's going to want to bring that version over, which is unfortunate. I don't see it happening that way. That's where I kind of stand with it, dude. But when it comes down to it, she did a fucking fantastic job. I mean, look at that shot. Look at this. Look at that shot. I'm gonna pause it. Dude, that's peak. The cinematography in this movie is like the opposite of Craven that I just reacted to. Andy Muschietti has a style. And a lot of people were like complaining about the third act of the Flash movie. He's like, oh, it's so CGI heavy. He's like, dude, the Flash is a speedster. The Speed Force, when you're running fast, things aren't gonna look real. And then you got Michael Keaton, dude, just straight up fighting alongside the Flash, fighting Kryptonians with 80s tech. Like, what a savage, dude. That's what I'm saying. This whole sequence right here with the Bat Cave. I don't see. You're not gonna get better than this, dude. Look at that. Crazy. And then this whole. Let's go back to the when Barry tells people about he was there at the beginning of Man of Steel. He was in Metropolis trying to save people, and he wasn't fast enough. He only could save one person, and the fact that he was even trying to save somebody, he had that moral obligation to try to save somebody. Fantastic, dude. And people were like, "Oh, he's just retconned." They retconned him into the movie. It's like they're expanding the story of what actually happened in Metropolis. We found out in Batman v Superman that Bruce Wayne was in Metropolis. That wasn't in Man of Steel. So, but people are considering that a retcon. I don't think that's a retcon. I just think the progression of Barry Allen from that cameo in Batman v Superman to Justice League to now is just crazy. Yeah, so he was able to save this kid, but not his dad, and he was able to barely get out alive, dude. Barely. And let's talk about Barry's dad. They had to recast the dad. It was Billy Crudup. Is that his name? Crudup. Yeah, so this was the original dad, right here. From the Justice League movie. Apparently he was filming a TV series, so unfortunately he wasn't able to come back. And I thought that was going to be a real issue, considering that's the whole crux of Barry's storyline, is trying to get his dad out of prison. But they actually replaced him with... What's his name? Drops out. Let's see. Livingston is his name? I forgot. Let's go to IMDb. What the hell is this? He's still credited in the movie. Oh yeah, Ron Livingston. I was right. So yeah, these guys look alike, dude. So it wasn't that big of a deal for me. It was at first because I'm a sucker for continuity. I'm like, dude, you can't even keep your actors in order. But yeah, they got Ron Livingston, dude, which I'm not gonna complain. You get the guy from Office Space. Come on, man. And Swingers. And he really pulled it off. I really felt that he was Barry's dad. And I'm willing to even say, like, because he went and switched the timelines up, who's to say he didn't look like this? You know, it's just one of those things. Let's talk about the Wonder Woman of it all. Wonder Woman was in this movie for a scene, and it might be the final scene she's in, actually. Let's see if I can pull it up. She came in to save the day, and then she peaced out. She was like, okay, I'm out of here. People are saying the opening scene of the movie was like an episode of Justice League, the animated series, Justice League Unlimited or something. Trying to see if I have a screenshot. And I wasn't surprised that she was in the movie at all, actually. Could I have used more? Sure. They could have did this whole alternate version, Flashpoint style, where all the Amazons are at war with the Atlanteans. But that's taking away from the Flash, and that's more of a Justice League type of story. I was just stoked that we saw Batman, Flash, and Wonder Woman in one more scene before everything went to shit and we're getting the reboot. So I was happy with it. Look at that. Look at this. And I wasn't a fan of Barry's helmet at first. It was really bulky, but after a while I kind of just went along with it. It's fine. It's flawless. I was really digging this movie. And then the mom, dude, they chose to make her a Latina. So that's, you got your multicultural elements in this movie, and it wasn't woke, it wasn't forced. You know, it was just Barry's mom. And I really felt for her too at the end of the movie. Look at this fool. Yeah, he plays those two different versions seamlessly. Look how seamless that is, dude. Are you kidding me? And we have to talk about we got Inception right here. Eric Stoltz, the whole Back to the Future joke, where Eric Stoltz is actually in Back to the Future. Well, in real life, he shot 80% of that movie, and they recasted him. This was actually the original Marty McFly, Eric Stoltz. He played a darker version compared to what we got with Michael J. Fox. I just think it's hilarious. They actually brought him up in the Flash movie, and they made it canon, dude. Yeah, this whole thing is... They actually have footage of him shooting this movie. That's so wild. He definitely plays like a gothier version of the character. Wow, that's so nuts. Look at that. I don't know, like, it would be normal for us, and I think the vest that he wears, it just makes it more cinematic for some reason. Like, why is he wearing a fucking life vest? Like he's scared he's gonna drown. Weird. Let's talk about this whole Superman, Nicolas Cage. There's a bunch of video on here of him trying on stuff. Wow, somebody actually uploaded this shit. This is John Schnapp's documentary. And I'm not going to show you guys versions from the movie that's leaked. I'm going to show you clips. Hey, look, there's me. Right here. This is him trying on. This is Nicolas Cage in his costume fittings with Tim Burton. They're trying to figure out what the suit's going to look like. And this, to me, is just fucking crazy that they put it in the actual movie, man. This was going to be a real thing. And after the Flash movie, dude, after Tim Burton directs, what is he doing right now? Beetlejuice 2? He needs to get Nicolas Cage back, because that would be insane if we actually got a Superman Lives movie. And they're like just trying to figure out which version they want to go with. Like, there he is, look at that. Full long hair, 90s style. Huge cape, like almost like a king's shoulder pads kind of thing. He's so excited though. Like dude, he thinks he's gonna be Superman. This is fresh out of Con Air, right after he did Con Air. Wow. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm about to be Superman. This is gonna be sick. Wow, dude. They're all just taking pictures of him. Apparently, this thing went over budget. I think that's what we got in the movie. This is a little too crazy. I would have been like, man, look at this. This is too bulky. You know. That's way better. This right here is what they ultimately went with in the Flash movie, with the different emblem. But just knowing that all this stuff could have happened, and then them giving us that homage in the Flash, full circle. I even like this Clark Kent look he wants to go with. Very mid-90s Clark Kent. With his long hair, kind of mismatched. They even have him wearing a Mickey Mouse shirt underneath at one point, I think. So if you're not familiar with this, I can see why you'd be confused going into that Flash movie. Like, what the hell is Nicolas Cage doing in this thing? That is crazy. But yeah, it's just really, really surreal. And apparently they brought him back to shoot, because then they just covered him with the CGI to make it look like he's in the Speed Force. But we also got Helen Slater as Supergirl. They actually put her with Christopher Reeve, which is another crazy thing, because we never thought that they would be sharing the screen together, even though it was CGI or whatever the fuck, you know. We actually get Supergirl with Christopher Reeve. Crazy. But yeah, man, I don't know, like, there's I could go on and on and on about the Flash, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of conversations going on. People are just really tearing it down when it comes to CGI. But let's not talk about bad CGI, dude. Like, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, Marvel, bad CGI. People were talking mad shit about Flash, but look at this. Look at this. What the fuck? Well, you guys are gonna give all this shit a pass? What the hell is this shit? Let's not talk about bad CGI. Bruh. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. What is this, dude? This is what it looked like when people were in the Speed Force. Except this is supposed to be real life. This is supposed to be real. Y'all gave this shit a pass. Y'all gave all of this a pass. Y'all gave this a pass. Terrible. 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 And I really liked it. Look at this. Look at this. They were like, oh fuck, we gotta try to fix it a little bit. We gotta try to fix it a little bit. Nah, dude. All bad. Nah, let's give this a pass. Let's give it a pass, because it's Marvel. I digress. There's bad CGI in all movies, guys. You gotta be equal about it. Gotta be equal about it. Look at this. This is unacceptable. Are you kidding me? Wow. I just can't. The hypocrisy is real on the internet. What else did I miss anything? Michael Shannon as Zod. He stated like he didn't really get much out of it coming back to do the Flash. He's like, I'll only do it if Zack Snyder says I can come back, because that's his version, and he did get his blessing. But he did his thing, dude. He wasn't the main focus of the movie. They focused on the one scene where he invades and he tries to get Clark to turn himself in. It was one sequence, so it's not like he was gonna take over the whole movie or whatever. And his car was beating his ass, and then they all found out that no matter what, she's gonna die. I mean, beautiful. Beautiful. Dude, look at this. Look at dude, they had all the bat suits, dude. Let's get into that. All the bat suits. This is the one from Batman '89. Uh, this is this one's from Batman Returns. This is the one he wears in the movie, and then we didn't get to see these ones in action. Super cool. Super. Oh my god, dude. It's just worth it. It's worth it just to watch Michael Keaton come back. And the little homages like that, with the Batwing in the moon, straight out of Batman '89. It's a total throwback. I never would have thought that Michael Keaton would come back in general. It's just a full circle moment to have him back at all. So, if that's the last time we see Michael Keaton as Batman, that's fine, dude. Well, let's talk about George Clooney for a second. Y'all hated his Batman, but you know what? He played a fantastic Bruce Wayne. He did a great job as Bruce Wayne. It wasn't his fault. George Clooney didn't write the script. He didn't write the script, you know. He didn't design the suit. Now will James Gunn use him as the new Batman? I don't think he will. But if he did choose to use George Clooney, I wouldn't hate it. Give him another shot. Give him some redemption. Give him some redemption. Because he's got the most shit out of all the Batman. He's gotten the most hate from the fan base. He even jokes about it on the red carpet all the time. He's like, oh, dude, it would kill me. But I will argue he did not do a bad job as Bruce Wayne at all. This dude, I grew up on this. This was my Batman and Robin. And they made it for kids my age at the time. You think George Clooney was responsible for the costume designs? No. 3.7. Oh damn, that's terrible. Look at this. You telling me that's not Bruce Wayne? You telling me that this isn't Bruce Wayne? Come on, guys. I digress. Look at this. I'm just gonna keep going back to that. Dude. This shot right here, perfect. One of my favorite shots was when Barry was in the chair getting electrocuted. I think that was in another one of these trailers. If I can find it. They finally introduced the ring, the flash ring. Like, look at that. Look how clear that looks, dude. And I am all over the place with this spoiler discussion. I'm literally just reminiscing about this movie. I've seen it twice. I went to an early screening and then I saw it opening night. Trying to find that shot. Look at that. Dude. That's what I'm saying. The cinematography and the CGI and the visual effects, when it on purpose, this looks amazing. Oops. That's that shot with Kara getting pissed off at Zod. dude. What more do you want? What more do you want from something like this? Sick. And then people were mad about this scene. Oh, why is Michael Keaton's Batman in the daytime? Like, are you kidding me? Sick. What's up? What's up? Unter Iggy? What's going on, guys? If you guys have comments or questions about The Flash, go ahead and drop them in the comments and we'll talk about it. I'm just kind of going through the trailer again, just to find talking points. Just overall, dude, this movie is just unfortunately a little too late. If this would have came out 2 years ago, pre-COVID, very different environment now. Very different environment now. This whole sequence of them discovering Bruce Wayne, and then younger Bruce or younger Barry didn't even know that they were having dinner with Batman. He's like, "What do you think? What do you think we're doing here, bro?" And the whole ending of the movie, like, Barry is the villain of his own story, and he has to come to grips with the fact that people are gonna die in his life. Like that. That's the opposite of Across the Spider-Verse. Like, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing. It's like, no, dude, that's being selfish. And the universe has its way for a reason. And you can't be selfish and going to change shit just because you want to live comfortable. Like, dude, like this right here, man. And look at the way this is shot. Look at the creativity here. The way that time speeds up in the back, and all of a sudden, boom, there's modern day Barry. It doesn't get better than that. This right here, this the chrono bowl, whatever they call it, sick. This scene, it homages when Bruce Wayne gets out of the car right here in the BVS, Batman v Superman. Watch. I'll show you. I will show you. I will show you the way. If you go to the Batman v Superman trailer. Bruce Wayne gets out of the car the exact same way. I don't know which trailer it was, so bear with me. I will find it. Right here. It's coming up. Look at that. Okay, that homages this. See that? Because in this timeline, Bruce Wayne, not Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck's Batman isn't there. But he is the Batman v Superman. See that? Same shit. Beautiful. That's art, guys. What is your thoughts on the Flash movie flops and not bringing in more people to see it and is not woke? It flopped for numerous reasons. I was discussing this earlier in the show. You have the Ezra Miller drama, whether you believe that whether you believe the allegations or not, him not being able to do press, the writer's strike shutting down the talk shows, so all these stars can't go on to promote this movie the right way. You have Across the Spider-Verse opened up 2 weeks ago. You have the Transformers opening up last week or whatever. Little Mermaid. It's been a very packed summer for movies. And most of the movies haven't been opening up the way that they are being predicted to open up. So it's very unfortunate, dude. I was going over the Flash box office right now. The Flash box office. And I had the Suicide Squad. It made less than the Flash made opening weekend. And that was released during COVID. So they wanted it to open up at 70 million minimum. And The Flash, at the end of the day, 64 million domestic and 139 million worldwide. That's not good considering the budget was $220 million. And depending on if it has a box office drop, they don't like to see more than like 50% drop off in like the second weekend. It can possibly make a profit, dude. It just has to have legs, and the word of mouth needs to be good. It's got a good Rotten Tomatoes score. Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm surprised it didn't make a lot of money like that, because the Rotten Tomatoes score isn't bad at all. In fact, it's one of the best. It's one of the best ratings for the DCU franchise at this point. What the hell is this? Okay. It's got a fucking 85% audience rating. You can't beat that. And a lot of these reviews, man, they're skewing towards talking about Ezra Miller's accusations and not actually about the movie itself, which is unfortunate, because as their job as a critic, it's to review the movie, not the actor itself. Okay, this guy says it liked the steroidal jacked testosterone fueled Superway like a 69 Camaro with a powerfully configured V8. What? So I'm not a fan of the new skinny Spider-Man nor the new skinny Flash. So he's body shaming Ezra. He gave this movie a 1.5 because the Flash is skinny. Who does that? What? I don't understand. Mostly disappointing. Keaton's Batman hasn't been written as the kinky weirdo from the Burton movies. What? He's just another retro nostalgia prop in a film overwhelmed by references and inside jokes. There was maybe 2 or 3 references, my guy. Fan service in search of a movie. It's not terrible, but it's disappointing. So what do you call Across the Spider-Verse if not fan service? This guy gave it a 3 out of 5, and it's a positive. A thundering mess that ends with the usual boring battle in the CGI sky. Oh boy. PS3 era graphics. Okay. Positive here. Ezra Miller brings surprising emotional depth to the DC's greatest hits. Spectacular. Beyond Keaton, there really isn't much there. Miller's dual role doesn't work. Are you serious? With the younger Barry growing tiresome? You don't know. This guy doesn't understand the nuance of playing a version of yourself that's 10 years younger. At least Barry was playing an actual 18-year-old, where someone like Zachary Levi playing a young Billy Batson. Billy Batson was 18 in Shazam 2, and he was playing him like he was 13. So I disagree with this guy a great deal. But yeah, dude, it's just overall it's pretty unfortunate, because compared to the DC movies that came before it, the Suicide Squad, one of the best rated DC movies. Look at that, 90, 82%. It didn't make money. This is an actual bomb. Look at this. This total box office, 168 million, dude. This had everything going for it. It's got the good Rotten Tomatoes score from the critics. Fantastic. Certified, 90%. Fantastic, 82% from the audience. It made 168 worldwide. And that's coming from James Gunn. He's running DC Studios now. So, and the budget was 185, dude. They lost money on this. So if you can't even get a box office success with a good Rotten Tomato score, what is DC going to do? Are you nervous for Superman Legacy? Knowing that they couldn't even make a profit with the Suicide Squad? As I said earlier, this thing was also released onto HBO Max. And it was during COVID. Even so, that's terrible. 168 worldwide. Wow, I had no idea it didn't make that much money at all, dude. That's crazy. Crazy. Compared to The Flash. Let's go back. Look at that. It's only 30 million away from catching up with the Suicide Squad's total box office. Wow. DC is in a weird place, dude. They need, like, I hate to say it, but maybe they should put Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 just straight on Max. Take 2 years off before putting out the new Superman. Just take a straight up break. Give some time between these movies. Because it's clear the audience is confused. They don't know what to support. They don't know what's what. They don't know who's sticking around, who's on the lunchbox. They don't know what's going on. Crazy. People were complaining about Zod CGI. There's nothing wrong with this. It stands for Supergirl. Seamless, guys. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. Let's see if I can find some questions. I'll go to somebody else's video for questions, since I don't have that many people in my live. The answer is simple. After James Gunn made his announcement on the DCU reboot, it pretty much made all the other movies that were coming seem unimportant. I agree. James Gunn made that announcement a few months ago. And he should have waited until after Shazam 2, The Flash, Blue Beetle, and all those movies came out before making his reboot announcement. And then somebody else says, isn't it painfully obvious Miller losing his mind? Okay, I wouldn't say he lost his mind, guys. Everybody has their problems. But one thing that didn't happen was these news organizations, they didn't follow up on any of the accusations that Ezra was accused of. They just threw out their accusations and then let the world decide. And a lot of those accusations were proven false. Yeah, see, they're going up against Transformers. They're going up against Across the Spider-Verse. They're going to reboot the entire DC universe. Well, it's not really true. Ezra Miller. So there's a lot of factors why this movie underperformed at the box office, dude. But if it has legs, which I think it will, it's going to make some money. This guy says there's 7 reasons why it's going to bomb. Across the Spider-Verse happened. Transformers happened. Well, you can conflate those into 2 things. It's been a busy box office season for the summertime. Gunn is rebooting. Ezra Miller. They were cheap on the film. They weren't cheap on this film. This film cost $220 million. It's the opposite of cheap. This wasn't a little film, okay? Frank R. I would say the Flash movie was a victim of its time. It had to suffer script revisions and changing directors, changing management, production problems, and the Ezra Miller problems. Yes, all of those are true, especially the changing in management, because as you may not know that there were supposed to be there's 3 different endings to this movie. I will pull that up right now. Flash endings. There was 3 different endings. One ending from the original, how it was actually supposed to end, and then Walter Hamada had an ending that brought back Superman, Wonder Woman at the end of the movie, and then the ending that we got with James Gunn. So you were completely right. The changing in management was probably one of the biggest issues. Not as much as the script revisions and changing directors, because honestly, dude, the general audience, they don't really care about the pre-production problems until they see a trailer. And this movie was supposed to come out 2017 originally, I think. Yeah. They announced it in 2014. So, and then a bunch of shit happened. But when it comes down to it, the general audience, they don't really pay attention to stuff like scripts, changing directors. They don't really pay attention. Only when a trailer comes out is when the general audience really starts to pay attention to a movie and its trajectory to the box office. Ezra Miller's problems. You can go ask your parents who Ezra Miller is, and I doubt they'll tell you they know who he is or they are. He is not an A-list star. Ezra is not Brad Pitt. The average person doesn't know who Ezra Miller is. So yeah, while he did have his own issues going on, I don't think that's the root of this box office failure. So I don't know. I'm trying to bring up the... Okay, so yeah, so as you know, this movie ended with George Clooney showing up. But before that one, it was supposed to be Michael Keaton and Sasha Calle's Supergirl, because that was going to spin off into the Batgirl movie where they Michael Keaton's going to have a new timeline with that Batgirl, and Sasha Calle's Supergirl was supposed to take over for Henry Cavill, which was the ending that Walter Hamada chose. Right up until James Gunn took over. And when James Gunn took over, he's like, we're scrapping this whole Batgirl movie. We're not doing a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton, because that was in development. We're going to change everything. We'll just throw Clooney in there as like a question mark, like what timeline is he in? We're going to end it with that. And yeah, what do you say? They don't, LOL? They don't what? I like the ending of this movie regardless. I like George Clooney. I said a few minutes ago, his Batman, it's not his fault that his Batman was corny. That's what the script was. He signed on to play Batman, Bruce Wayne. Like I said, he was a fantastic Bruce Wayne. Now his Batman, that's another conversation. Let's see. Once they said the universe would be rebooted, this movie didn't matter. Then they made changes to it and kept making changes because they didn't want Henry Cavill in it, and they shelved Batgirl. If Warner Brothers just stopped making changes after a movie is made, they would have more success. I agree with this, because they started doing that with Batman v Superman. They heard that, oh, this movie is too dark for audiences, so let's take out a half hour and let's not make it R-rated. Oh, Suicide Squad's too dark. The Joker is too abusive towards Harley. Let's change their whole storyline up. Oh, let's Justice League's too dark for the kids. Let's change the color palette. Let's turn up the brightness. Let's CGI a smile on the Superman. Let's CGI out his beard. Let's take out Zack Snyder and bring in Joss Whedon. Like, Warner Brothers as a whole no matter what regime is in charge, Warner Brothers has always been meddling in their filmmakers' movies, like, for the past 10 years, which is super crazy to me, dude, because this is the studio that made the Lord of the Rings trilogy. This is the studio that made the Dark Knight trilogy. And when they give the creative reins over to these directors and they're actually able to make their movies, they're fantastic. It's peak, dude. It's peak cinema. Could that mean that George Clooney is going to be the new DCU Batman? I would agree that he might be the DCU Batman, but James Gunn said on Twitter months ago that he wasn't going to be the DCU Batman. Let's see if I can bring up the tweet. He denied it. He straight up denied that he was going to be the Batman for the DCU. New actor. So this guy says, is it true you're going to cast George Clooney as the new main DCU Batman? In February 11th, James Gunn says, absolutely not. Does this mean we're still getting an actor who is already Batman, or we're getting a new actor altogether? A completely new actor. That's straight from the DC head himself. George Clooney was just a little cameo at the end of the Flash movie. That means that the ending of that movie, Ezra Miller's timeline, he is now in a new timeline in his own little world. We're going to get a whole new actor for Brave and the Bold with Andy Muschietti directing. Which is fine. To be completely honest, Damian Wayne being the new Robin is a storyline that I think needs to be explored. It's different than Tim Drake or Dick Grayson being Robin. You're having that familial ties with Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul, Deathstroke, the League of Shadows, or there's just a bunch. There's a bunch of storylines that need to be explored, and if you keep on just going down this path of like retelling Batman's origin like over and over again, even with the Batman, he's like year 2 Batman. We don't need to keep seeing that. People know Batman. We know his origin. So when they said they want to bring in Damian Wayne, that's an assassin that's dropped onto Batman's lap, and he's forced to like raise this kid, dude. That's something we haven't seen before when it comes to Batman. So, who would I put as the new Batman? A lot of people want Jensen Ackles. He already does the voice of Batman in the Tomorrowverse, whatever they call it. And this is Jensen Ackles as in cosplay. He cosplayed as Batman. So he's got something there. He's not big though. Look at the size of Jensen Ackles in the Batsuit. I don't think the cowl suits him very well. This is obviously a fan-made cosplay that he's put together himself. He's not a professional costume designer. But yeah, I think depending on how they do it, I think Jensen Ackles could do a good Batman. But this is not it. This is not it. And if they go with an older Batman, they don't mind an older one. Dude, you gotta go with John Hamm, dude. This is not it. And if they go with an older Batman, they don't mind an older one. Dude, you gotta go with John Hamm would make a great Bruce Wayne Batman. John Hamm would make a great Bruce Wayne. This would be Batman. My pick. Can it get any blurrier? Jesus. This would be my pick. Yeah, John Hamm, or this one might be a hard concept to pitch, but Jake Gyllenhaal as Batman, or his younger version. This one might be a hard concept to pitch, but Jake Gyllenhaal pull it off as Batman. He's a younger version. Because if Damian is at least 13, because they're not going to make him fucking 8 years old. I think he could pull it off. Batman's going to be somewhat older. Because if Damian is at least... I hope people don't get the wrong idea after the Flash movie, because Andy Muschietti is a really good director, and I think he'll do well for the upcoming DC movies. Yeah, Andy Muschietti is a fantastic director, especially if you look at the It reboot he did. What else did he direct? Let's go look at his movies. His style is fantastic. I have not seen Mama. I've heard great things about it. But yes, when it comes to the It reboot, that movie is fantastic. Now, Chapter 2, that's debatable. Somebody will argue with you that it's not as good as the first one. But as far as his directing style, the way he handled Ben Affleck, the way he handled Michael Keaton, he can direct Batman. He gets the iconography of it. He gets the aesthetic of each Batman. They obviously have their different vibes. He was able to capture Michael Keaton's Batcave perfectly. It's just he did a great job. But yeah, I think Jake Gyllenhaal. Back to the new Batman. Who do you want to be as the new Batman? I think Jake Gyllenhaal has a great chance of becoming that version. That's just me, though. Who would you want as the new Batman? There's a ton of different actors that can do it. Let's see. Looking at chat. Nicholas Holt. They've been thinking, dude, about Nicholas Holt's been auditioning for a lot of different characters. Nicholas Holt was going up against Pattinson for Batman, and now he's supposed to be Superman or Lex Luthor. So it's clear that Warner Brothers wants to work with Nicholas Holt. They just don't know where they want to put him. To be honest, I don't see him as Batman or Superman or Lex Luthor, in my opinion. I think he could do a Wally West. I think he could be Dick Grayson, possibly. How old is Nicholas Holt? So yeah, Nicholas Holt's 33. Okay, so he can he's a little too young to be Batman, especially with a 12-year-old, 13-year-old son. I just don't see that happening. Let's go back to this. Okay. Coming out on a very crowded summer. I also like Paramount with Rise of the Beasts. Yeah, dude, it's a crowded summer, man. You just had the Transformers come out and Across the Spider-Verse come out, like back to back. I'm just showing Ezra the same energy everyone had for Will Smith. Okay, well, Will Smith is currently filming Bad Boys 4, so what are you talking about? I'm very surprised. I thought a lot more people were anticipating a Flash movie. Not a lot of people were anticipating a Flash movie because they just watched 9 years of The Flash for free on the CW. So, and The Flash is not an A-list character like a Superman or a Batman. With both The Flash and Elemental bombing this weekend, it's proving to be a pretty rough weekend for movies. The only movie to do proportionally well was Asteroid City. Okay. This movie has so many problems, and then they go into plot points that they had problems with. It's all fake, bro. If it's written a certain way, you can argue plot elements. Like, that's why they go into time so many times over and over again, and it's the same outcome. Batman and Supergirl die in that world. So as far as your plot, you're complaining about plot, it's like irrelevant, dude. I think The Flash deserves a director's cut, just like the Snyder cut, but I doubt they want to spend any more money on it after it flopped. Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Andy Muschietti said that there is a 4-hour cut of The Flash. But he says that the version that we get is the better version because it's quality over quantity. You know, there could be a lot of fluff in that 4-hour cut. But like I was saying at the beginning of this stream, I don't mind long comic book movies. I love Zack Snyder's Justice League. Watchmen, the extended cut of Watchmen, fantastic. So, a 4-hour cut exists. They should drop that on the DVD, or the DVD, the Blu-ray. They should put that on Max, if that's an option. He says that there's a 4-hour version of The Flash, but he's happier with the cut they released in theaters. There is an extended cut of The Flash that adds about another hour and a half to the superhero movie's lengthy runtime, and there's a chance fans may get to see it one day. Blah, blah, blah. Still needed to remove about an hour and a half of footage to prepare the release for theaters. That means there's probably a lot of Supergirl they cut. They probably cut a lot of Michael Keaton out. Maybe. He says maybe. I'm definitely more happy with this version than the 4-hour version. Yeah, I probably played a lot better. He says you get excited and you start improvising with actors and suddenly you have a scene that is double the duration of the script. Yeah, because they're just riffing and then they come up with good shit, but then you get a 4-hour version of this movie. You have to face the edit and say, okay, we need to remove 1 hour and a half of this movie. How is it going to happen? At the end of 6 months, it's fun. At the beginning, it's just chaos, and whatever you start doing is wrong. Seen in hindsight, because it's trial and error. You try a lot of things. He continues, there's a lot of things that are in the movie that are on the edit room floor, but this is really the best version of the movie. Some scenes cut are more interesting than others. Many things are very cool things, but they somehow step on the propulsion on the pacing of the movie, which is something that you always have to mind. Yeah, so you don't want the movie to be going super like chill, and all of a sudden you get bogged down by this extended scene. So, and as far as playability goes, if it's under 3 hours, the more times you can play in a movie theater. So that's ultimately what the studio wants to do. Yeah. Who knows? It might improve on the movie. I would see it. I would see it too, my guy. Like, I would love a 4 hour version of this movie. Even if it's more stuff with his dad or with Iris. A lot of people were saying Iris didn't have enough screen time. So if that 4 hour cut included a lot more character developing stuff, that would have slowed down the movie. Maybe this 4 hour movie could be cut into like an hour long episodic type of thing. But then you're dealing with contracts with the actors, which is ultimately why Zack Snyder's Justice League wasn't cut into 4 episodes. Because that would have changed things up, and the actors would have to get paid again per episode. And the studio is not trying to spend more money on this thing, unfortunately. If I were Warner Brothers, I'd be embarrassed about how this turned out, especially given the last recent DCU movies. Not a pretty looking track record. I mean, dude, they're not stupid. They know how much these movies have been making. They know how much money they're putting into marketing. And they know there's going to be a delay point, given that James Gunn is now taking over and switching everything up. Ezra was acting all weird the entire movie. This isn't the character. Okay, well, this isn't the character you're used to, but it is a version of Barry Allen. It's just not the one that you prefer on the screen. A few reasons: because it wasn't anywhere near as good as it was hyped up to be by the studio. That's all hearsay, man. Like, a lot of people love this movie, and a lot of people are hitting on it just because they don't like Ezra. Just like I'm getting Captain Marvel vibes from this thing, and Batman v Superman vibes. They were hating on it because that was the trendy thing to do. Gunn indirectly announced that this movie is irrelevant to the future of DC. It's not irrelevant to the future of DC. If you watch the ending of this Flash movie, it opens up every single world in the DC universe. They're all canon. They all count. They all exist in the same multiverse. So to say it's irrelevant, not true. We're simply gonna hop over to another world, just like the Batman. We're gonna hop over to a different world and see where that story goes. People's hate for Ezra outweighs their love for Keaton. I don't think that's true. A lot of this movie was leaked online before it came out, which is unfortunate. On TikTok, you can't scroll TikTok without it showing clips from the movie. I love the movie personally. Had me wishing for more, actually. I'd love to see the storyline continue with him trying to get back to his correct universe. Yeah, he's not in his timeline. He would have to let his dad be in prison for him to go back to the original timeline. Yeah, this guy's itching for more Keaton's Batman. It's unfortunate, dude, that they're scrapping the Batgirl movie. That would have propelled the storyline that they don't want to tell anymore. They don't want to tell Keaton's Batman story, because that would have continued the original ending that they changed in the Flash movie. Because you can see from the set photos, Michael Keaton was at the end of this movie, not George Clooney. This scene was at the end of the movie. Supergirl shows up at the end of at the courthouse. They took that out. This was no longer the case anymore. As you can see, Michael Keaton and Supergirl were going to be at the end of the movie. Was not the case anymore. I remember when they were filming the movie and we seen that he's acting opposite of his stunt double. Yeah, let's go back to this Michael Keaton shit. Okay, so yeah. This was the original plan. Michael Keaton and Supergirl were going to be replacing Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck going forward. James Gunn came along and says, "Listen, guys, we're not doing that. We gotta rethink something. We gotta bring something back. Bring back Clooney. I think the Nicolas Cage Superman cameo was great. Oh, dude, I loved it. Shout out to John Schnepp. If you don't know who John Schnepp is, he was the director of The Death of Superman Lives What Happened. He unfortunately passed away before this movie could come out. This movie would not happen. That cameo wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for this documentary. That's for sure. I'm trying to bring some images up. Bear with me. Yeah, so this was the original Nicolas Cage Superman that we were supposed to get in Superman Lives, directed by Tim Burton. And the fact that they brought him in, it just really tied everything together. Everything goes back to what I was saying before. Everything counts. Everything is canon. Everything is a possibility now. It's just really cool to see that. So sick. Really digging it. There's a whole documentary online about it, and I highly recommend it. The Death of Superman Lives What Happened. Wow. Yeah, I really wish they made that movie. Nicolas Cage was super excited about it. He was fresh off the Con Air. This was supposed to be his big old break into the comic book franchises. But I'm going to wrap up this spoiler discussion, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching. It's been super fun. I'm going to do a lot more of these. Like I said before, I just got a new PC. I'm working on getting a new webcam. This webcam is fine. It's just compared to the phone quality that I use when I film with my phone, it's just not as clear as I would want it to be. But as far as stuff like this, I don't mind coming on here talking to you guys about it. Especially this is The Flash. I needed to talk about The Flash movie. I didn't do a regular review on it. I typed up my review. You can go to geekmedia.com and check that out. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes, Letterboxd, blah blah blah. It was just super cool, man, to see the love for DC in this movie. All the cameos we got to see. And this movie wasn't even about cameos. Those cameos happened like in 30 seconds in a 2.5-hour movie. The movie as a whole was fantastic. Dealing with acceptance of loss, having to let go, accepting that you might be the villain of your own story, and just a lot of those themes that were told, like, just fantastic, dude. Like, I'm really happy with the Flash movie. You can go on and on about CGI. This is 2023. It's always been a complaint for me with these superhero movies, whether it's DC or Marvel. You can go to my previous podcasts, and I grilled the shit out of Ant-Man Quantumania for the terrible CGI. But that was like throughout the entire movie. It wasn't just one sequence with cameos for 30 seconds. The entire Quantumania was terrible. The blue screen was completely obvious. Like, go see where I talk about it. The Flash movie was not that at all. 95% of that movie looks fantastic. It looks beautiful. The cinematography, all that shit, it was just, it really hit the nail on the head with it for me, man. Andy Muschietti did a fantastic job. Everything. So with that being said, I'm gonna wrap up, guys. Yeah, John Schnepp did pass away. Rest in peace, John Schnepp. He was like the homie, dude. He recreated, co-created Metalocalypse. This guy was a big, huge part of the film community, man. And I used to watch him every day on Collider Movie Talk. He was hosted movie Collider Heroes. He was one of us. He was one of us. And yeah, dude, it's just he was with us in the room, dude, when we were watching that shit and Nicolas Cage showed up. I was like, fuck, man, Schnepp would have loved this. Schnepp would have loved this movie. He would have loved that cameo. And it's all thanks to him, dude. I swear, if it wasn't for his movie, we wouldn't have gotten Nick Cage in the Flash movie. So, John Schnepp, you're the man, dude. Anyways, this has been my open spoiler discussion on brought to you by Geeked Media. When is my next stream? I really don't know yet. I covered the Kraven trailer. Probably the next couple days, maybe tomorrow. It just depends on what drops. I normally do a weekly podcast. But since I got my new PC and I have like my OBS system hooked up now, I'm reevaluating how I do all my stuff right now, and I would cover all the movie news that happened during the week. But for now, if something cool happens, I'm just going to pop on here and start doing a live stream. So just make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications, because I'm just going to be on here a lot more now, considering my new PC is pretty fucking rad. So I'm excited. Thanks for watching, and yeah.